the Harrison School, and the Scott-Montgomery School, and a disposition extension for the New Communities Northwest 1 Site 2. Before discussing these properties, I want to point out that it's the responsibility of the Chair of the Committee on Government Operations and the Environment to determine whether the property is surplus. That is to say, whether the property is, quote, no longer required for government purposes, unquote. And it's the responsibility of the Committee on Economic Development to determine whether the disposition of that property is in the best interest of the district. Now, we have distinct responsibilities in that regard, but nevertheless, given that it's valuable government property, inevitably there are sort of overlapping issues that relate to surplusing and disposition, and so questions may run across both lines. Scott-Montgomery School. That school is located at 421 P Street Northwest. DCPS no longer uses the school for educational purposes, and in 2006 entered into a public-private development partnership with KIPP DC, a public charter school, to locate Will Academy within a portion of the school. The agreement provided a right of first offer for KIPP to use additional space in the building, which KIPP began doing in 2010 after DCPS discontinued use of the school. KIPP DC has expanded into virtually the entire facility and has taken over operation and maintenance of the property. The surplus and disposition determination would enable KIPP to receive a ground lease for the building, and that would be instrumental in obtaining financing to complete the planned $15 million renovation of the building. Finally, with respect to projects coming before the council, I've adopted a certain practice. When we have properties that are chosen for surplusing and disposition, I should explain that the analysis of that is done really by the executive, and then when properties are developed, they are developed by teams who are, if they are private teams, are chosen by the executive, and the committee chair and the committee itself does not choose those teams. Nevertheless, it's become my practice to ask my staff to review any donations made to my past campaigns by any principals or entities involved in potential surplus or disposition properties, and so I want to disclose a few donations by school board members for public charter schools discussed today. First, Mr. Terrence Golden, the board chairman for KIPP DC, donated $500 to my first and second campaigns. Additionally, William C. Smith and Company, for whom one of the KIPP DC board members, Chris Smith, is associated, donated $500 to my re-election campaign on December 8, 2009. That said, I will now turn to hearing of witnesses, but first ask whether Chairman Brown has an opening statement.
No, thank you, Councilmember Cheh, for your opening, and as well as moving these projects immediately, and I think that's important. The importance that we get things done. And I think what residents want to see, what the city wants to see, is us continue to do things that is to the better of our communities, and this is a perfect example. Normally we would have a surplus hearing, then it would be a disposition hearing, and I chaired the Committee on Economic Development, many of you know, for the last 4 years, and came up with a suggestion that we just do it together. Therefore, we can ask a lot of questions on the surplus side and the disposition side. We get everything out in the open and we get things done, and that's what residents want us to do. I look forward to listening to the testimony on the disposition and the extension approval of the disposition for the Site 2 of the New Communities Northwest 1 project, which I know a lot about already, and we're looking forward to getting that project underway. McCogney School disposition, of course, will allow the Department of Real Estate Services to enter into the ground lease. You heard a little bit of that. Eagle Academy Public Charter School has been selected as the tenant for the property. But let me say that this proposed disposition is directly in line with the district's goals of developing space for public charter schools and related nonprofit educational organizations. And that's the same as it relates to the Rabault School disposition. Clearly up in Ward 4, Capital City Public Charter School. And the things, we have a couple of charter schools, all of them do great work, and I think that's important. We're going to extend educational opportunities for our residents, giving them greater access to choices that can educate our youth, which I'm really excited about. Now, let me say to Rabault that this proposed disposition is directly in line with the district goals of developing space for public charter schools and related nonprofit educational organizations. You know, I've done a lot of dispositions, and I've seen this is probably the first time I had so many in front of me that goes directly with the proposed goals of the District of Columbia that's related to charter schools and nonprofit entities. A lot of times we have dispositions and they go towards development and housing, which is a goal for the district, and retail, where neighborhoods, which is definitely an opportunity in many neighborhoods, but to see all of these schools go to continue in the education of our young folks is exciting too. It shows that we do have a balance and mixture of how we use our public-owned facilities. The Scott-Montgomery School Disposition, which will allow KIPP DC, the campus, to grow and accommodate over 920 public charter school students and complete what has been an ongoing modernization effort at the site, which is phenomenal. 920 students at a site. That tells you that we're on the move. The District of Columbia is not just the hottest real estate on the commercial side. We don't just have the hottest restaurants. For those that had a chance to attend the Rammies last night, and you heard all the chefs say this is the hottest place to be. The best place, according to Parents Magazine, to raise your kids. And then you have School Without Walls in Banneker being listed amongst the top schools in the country. And then you have charter schools such as Thurgood Marshall that graduates 100% and sends everyone to college. I mean, the district is on the move. You know, surplus over $107 million of additional revenue above what was anticipated. That tells you that this city is still rocking and rolling, as my nephew tells me. But let me say that the KIPP DC proposal is, once again, directly in line with the district goals of developing space for public charter schools and related nonprofit organizations. So I look forward to the testimony, and I look forward to moving these as soon as possible. Thank you, Councilmember Cheh.
Thank you very much, Chairman Brown. You know, I too want to join in your sentiments. I've been doing some of this surplusing for a while now, and it's been a disappointment to me that we haven't been able to get property to the hands of our charter schools so that they could use them for their facilities. And so today is a good day. We will call our witnesses in the usual way, which is to say we'll have the public witnesses first. If you're here representing yourself, you will be given 3 minutes. If you're here representing an organization, you will have 5 minutes. And then I'm going to call the government witnesses, not with respect to each property. We'll go through each property one by one, but at the end to talk about all the properties so that we're not, simply going back and forth. So first, and at this time I'd like to call the witnesses, please, for Scott-Montgomery School. The public witnesses, Alex Shaw, the Director of Real Estate for KIPP DC, Tiffany Williams, the Vice Principal, KIPP DC, Martin Moulton, the President, Convention Center Community Association, and Marla Blount, the public witness. So could you all come forward, please?
Speak.
Okay, I'm not sure who's who, so I'm going to start on my left, and you can, identify yourself, and then Ms. Blount, you will have 3 minutes, and the others are representing an organization or association, so you will have 5 minutes. But you need not use every minute. I just want to add that. Okay. Sir, so you're first.
Good morning, Councilmember Cheh.
Good afternoon, actually.
Good afternoon, I'm sorry. Council Chair Brown. My name is Martin Moulton. I'm the President of the Convention Center Community Association. I'm here this afternoon to voice my support and that of several of my neighbors for the proposal that KIPP DC is bringing to you this afternoon. I bought a home 10 years ago directly across the street from the Scott-Montgomery School and have seen the great changes that have taken place since KIPP has moved in as a neighbor. During the last 6 years, KIPP has replaced the windows on the school, which were hideous and prison-like. They've renovated the parking lot. They've added a fantastic new gymnasium and been taking great care of the grounds to the point of giving access to the local community and families to the new playgrounds that are on the site. They've also allowed us to have access for the churches. There are 2 churches on the same block as the KIPP school, and on Sundays the parking pressures are pretty extraordinary, and KIPP has graciously allowed us to allow the churches to park on the lots on Sundays. And they've met with us several times, the local community, about this immediate project, and they've promised to stay in touch with us as the project goes forward and beyond.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Council Member. I'm the General Counsel and Director of Real Estate for KIPP DC. As Chairman Brown mentioned, this has been an ongoing renovation effort at the site. What we're proud about is the fact that if we're able to start this on time, that by next June of 2012, we'll have a fully modernized 90,000 square foot facility that we think is a national model, both in program but also in facility. It'll be a LEED certified campus. It will result in millions of dollars in contracts going to certified business enterprises. It will allow us to enhance the existing middle school program that's there, making an excellent program even better. Just as importantly, it'll allow us to expand at that site from serving the current 420 students all the way to 920 students. We're proud of our relationship with our neighbors, with the surrounding community, with family members, with our students, and we think this disposition will allow us to obtain financing to implement a project on time and of the highest quality. And with me is our vice principal, Ms. Tiffany Williams, who has also been a math teacher at that same site for some time, along with a parent, Ms. Blount, whose daughter Carolyn is a rising sixth grader at the facility, and they can address any program-related questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Ms. Williams?
One of the primary things I want to focus on is how the expansion that we're going to be doing will service our students. As you all know, we're a college preparatory middle school, and our big focus from the time our students come through our doors is going to college. If you would go to the pre-K school, which is Grow Academy, on their shirt it says, "I go to college in 2023. So by expanding our program, we're enabling more of our students to have that opportunity to get a college education and just continuing to push our mission and our effort of sending more students to and through college.
Hi, my name is Marla Blount. It's a pleasure to be here. I just wanted to say that my child has been at KIPP for 1 year. She came from another school where she wasn't seeming to be as productive as she is now. She's a wonderful person, but at Will, her first year, her grades came up from a average student. I knew she had fantastic potential, but she's been working most of this year at a 3 out of 4 semesters. She got a 3.85. She has been very much impressed with the school. I know I am. I like the way they do things, even though the hours are 8 all the way to 5 in the afternoon. She's always happy. I also drive another student who went to her former school who was not performing so well. I know that it was once I found out how wonderful the facility, the actual school was. I told his grandmother, who didn't have a car, that I would pick him up every day and I bring him to school also. So he's also a student at KIPP, and he's been on the roll all year. So it's a very good school, very good teachers. I think that the one thing that they do need to work on is the modernization of the school, because it is somewhat intimidating to walk in there, and it's somewhat dark. And a lot of it's dark. The bathrooms are older and the walls is just not just a beautiful place to be in. Kids that work that hard deserve to have a beautiful atmosphere too, that would further make their minds work. And I think it's a wonderful facility, and I hope that you give them the ability to modernize further, take the kids where they could achieve their potential.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for taking the time out of your day to come down as a parent to talk about this. We really appreciate that. And, the KIPP schools are really a jewel in the crown in the District of Columbia for our students, and so we do very much support what they do. I do want to ask something that's a bit off the beaten track, but and I didn't ask the other panels, but nevertheless, it's always been my view that the school, the building and the grounds, all of it's a classroom. And I've been sort of on this mission, to have DCPS and all of our schools look at it that way, which is to say that the students should learn from the buildings, they should learn from the grounds, they should learn about nutrition, they should learn about, heat exchange, they should learn about everything, they should learn about environmental values and that sort of thing. Can anybody talk to me about, that kind of a philosophy and how that will be manifest in the modernized school?
I think I can start, Council Member, and give an illustration from another one of our campuses in Anacostia, where on a on a random visit, I looked out the window and I saw an entire math class on the back side of the building on the newly renovated turf football field. And they were using the yard markers on the field with rulers. And you could tell they were animated, they were happy, glad to be outside. And I know that that sort of experience was unique for those kids before that building was modernized. I know it's a better environment for the teachers. I know it's easier to attract better teachers to a site that's vibrant and welcoming. Ms. Williams can speak to it more, but at this site, thanks to a partnership with OPFM, we were able to install one of the first geothermal heating and cooling systems.
I was hoping you were going to mention that because I would have mentioned it myself.
And I think that for when the early childhood program grows, that is something that we intend to have the engineer return to the site for, to describe how it is that if you go deep enough into the ground, you reach a temperature that requires less energy to heat and cool. And so it is something that we're aware of.
Well, I really appreciate that because we would lose big opportunities if we don't exploit all of the aspects of the school, for an educational purpose. And kids, as you mentioned, about the measuring on the field, they take to this sort of thing so enthusiastically rather than the simple rote, way that conventional learning may be undertaken. In that same vein, in terms of the KIPP schools, speaking about the length of the day, that's one of the things I think that makes KIPP as successful as it is. And, I had been talking about making noises about, in terms of our own approaches at DCPS, that maybe we ought to think about that. We do have some of that in the sense that we have after-school programs. My children are quite grown now, but I do think of the experience that I had when they were at Murch Elementary and would go to the after-school program, and you would think that after a long day, I would turn up there and they would go, "Oh, it's time to go home." I would say, "Come on, I'm Mom," but show some enthusiasm. But that's another aspect. So, excuse me. I want to thank you for coming, and we're very supportive. And Councilmember Brown?
No, thank you. Thank you for your testimony, and I'm a huge supporter of KIPP, of course. When we look at our middle schools in the District of Columbia, and that's clearly a focus that I have, is, we should have world-class middle schools. This city should be known for world-class middle schools. I believe if we don't put emphasis on our middle schools, then I'm not sure, do we have real school reform taking place. You're right. When you're in the 5th grade or 6th grade or the 1st grade, you should have a shirt that says when you graduate. There's no such thing as a 13th grade, right? It's 12 when you go to college. And we're going to do everything we can to continue to focus on middle schools. And quite frankly, I think there should be longer days. The more time that our students have in a classroom with their teachers in some sort of educational environment, the better. We all know for those schools that have good after-school programs, and some people you have to pay, right? It costs money to pay to have your child participate in the after-school program, but they get so much more in the learning environments for that. For middle schools, we just forget it, right? Oh, man, you're 13, you're grown. No, I think that if you look at our middle schools in terms of educational reform, which is phenomenal here in the District of Columbia, and the growth of enrollment, the higher enrollment of our schools, if you look into grades 6 to 8, you see a decline, quite frankly, and that's because that's when people start to make a decision. Everyone can't get into KIPP, and everyone can't get into the other middle schools that are here in the District of Columbia, so they make a decision, and their decision is to go to a private school or to move out of the District of Columbia. But in order for this to be a family-friendly city, it's just not a pre-K program. It's a program that goes all the way through high school. And until we start to make sure that we have our very best continuing to go to our high schools and staying in our systems, middle school is an option. So thank KIPP for always being that goal that everyone talks about, right? Every school, we talk about KIPP, and some schools get mad. They say, well, you always talk about KIPP. People talk about the things that are top, People like Apple, they like Nike, they just think they're the best.
That's right.
You got to figure out how to become the best, too. So I look forward to moving this as quickly as possible. I do believe, as you mentioned, that this is just a bigger vision to what you are already doing. And when is that going to be complete?
I should mention, Mr. Chairman, that we are actually expanding, not enhancing the middle school program, but we're adding a pre-K through 4 program. So that's what we're most excited about. We're starting demolition now at some small amount of risk to KIPP DC without the ground lease being finalized. The construction schedule is set to be completed in mid-May 2012.
Okay.
So we feel good about our schedule because we're able to occupy space that won't be renovated and then shift that program into the newly renovated space and keep going.
So that'll be open for the 2013 school year then?
Yeah, we are there now with 420 kids. There'll be no disturbance to the program, and yeah.
Okay. I mean, that'll be 2014 is when it'll be finished, right?
No, sir. They'll be finished in June 2012.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Great. All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Brown. You know, whoa. Oh, never mind. I was just going to make another wonderful observation. But, you know, I think you've heard enough. No. I just wanted to say one of the KIPP schools that I had visited, you know, this whole idea about the expectation of college being just sort of like you take it in with the meals kind of thing. You know, each classroom in the upper classrooms would adopt a college or university, learn all about it, make a commitment in their minds. And, you know, just even small things like that I think can have a profound impact. But you want to go, so thank you. Thanks very much.
The question for the other panelists, is there any reason why the number of years in the ground lease are different?
Well, I think those three schools use the typical 25, and we originally started negotiating with KIPP. It was a 25 and 25, and when they got into the program, they wanted a longer term for their leasing or for their financing of the improvements.
So what is their reason again for the additional 10 years?
That was beneficial for them for their financing, just helped them finance it longer. It was at their request. It made sense for their financing.
Okay, and yours for 25 years?
25 years, that's a typical term, 25 plus a 25-year renewal option.
So KIPP gets a little special treatment, is that what you're saying?
Well, we originally proposed 25. I think we first discussed it, but as they got into their financing, they asked for a 35-year lease. Yep.
All right, good. Thank you. No further questions. Councilmember Cheh.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Brown. And I think we are at the end, and so I'm going to adjourn this hearing, and the time is now 3:20. Thank you all.
Thank you.